vision. And today we have a workshop by Papa G called Exploring the Lenormand. Did I get it right that time?
Lenormand, close.
Lenormand, okay.
Many people say it different ways. Who knows? It's from the 18th century.
Okay, and Papa G is a tarot reader and a root worker, offering his magical and spiritual services for over 20 years. And he's the author of 8 books now, right?
I think now we're at 10.
10. He and his husband own Aroma G Botanica in Nashville, Tennessee. And this year you're doing a workshop on the history and the use of the Lenormand.
Yes.
Yes. And you have a new book about that, don't you?
I do. It is. I actually did 2 books. This came out this September, so I wasn't sure which one to do a class on. I thought I'd show them both to you. So I just finished one with Catherine Ironward, who owns Lucky Mojo, and it was how to use amulets, charms, and talismans in the hoodoo and conjure tradition. And it goes over 150 different charms, amulets, and talismans. And then the same month, Lenormand Basics came out.
Yeah, let me mute.
Which is Lenormand Basics, How to Read Lenormand Cards for Beginners. Can you still hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the reason why I'm
Ed, could you please let Mary and Corey back into the lobby?
He's locked him out.
Yeah, I noticed he is still there, so I just hollered at him. You're welcome.
They were probably misbehaving.
I am sorry that I talked over you. Let me mute myself and you can continue.
So I did want to teach something that was fresh in my head. So that's why I decided to do the class on Lenormand cards, which I have taught before in the store. I'm gonna got my notes pulled up here so I don't miss anything. But the first thing I always teach my students is how Lenormand cards differ from tarot cards. There are only 36 to a deck. Tarot have 78. And by the way, I do mainly read tarot cards. I use Lenormand as backups and to get quick answers. But the way that they're different is they do not have multi-layered meanings like tarot does. One time I overheard a conversation where someone was telling someone else about, she was showing her Lenormand cards, and there was a Crossroads card in I can't remember which artwork, but they were talking about, do you see that tree in the background and the burden? That signifies blah, 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 blah. And I was like, no, that tree in the background in Lenormand means nothing. A card means exactly what it means and nothing else. It has one basic meaning. I mean, there will be a theme, and I'm going to go through all the cards. But the way that Lenormand cards get multi-layers is they're read in pairs. Whichever card is beside it, you combine those two together, and it takes on a new meaning and has a new layer to it. So it doesn't have a lot of mystical elements, these deep layers, or in tarot you have hidden biblical meanings, Kabbalistic meanings, there's astrology, there's all sorts of things mixed into that. And I'll give you the mouse card as an example in Lenormand. The mice, which I'll go over, means something being taken away from you. What do mice do? They get in your cupboards, they eat your food, they take something away from you. That's the only thing it means. It has nothing to do with the color of the mouse, where the mouse is, who it was talking to, or who it's been sleeping with. It just means something's being taken away from you. So some people have wondered how the name is Lenormand. It was by Marie Anne Lenormand. These cards did not start with her. Most people think she was a psychic in the 18th century. She was born I think in 17, let me look it up. In the 1770s. She most likely read with what was called Sibylla cards, and those were an early divination deck. They weren't called Lenormand cards until after her death because it was sort of a publicity stunt. She was the most famous uh, diviner card reader of her time. She read for Robespierre, Tsar Nicholas I, first Empress Josephine, then Napoleon. So she was sort of the celebrity card reader of her time. So when she died, people played on that celebrity and they actually used her name to promote their cards, which back then was not, there was no patents or copyrights. So it was easy to take on her name. Lenormand cards, let me show you some in the book that are, I actually collect antique ones whenever I can find them. Here's some examples of some of the way some of them look. They were originally based on a game called the Game of Hope, where the way this game was played, it was sort of played like Monopoly, where you laid out all the cards and the cards became like a Monopoly board, like a board, you land on boardwalk or whatever. The end game was meant to get to the anger card, which is the last card, which is also called the hope card. But for example, you landed on the key card, you get to move forward 2 spaces. You land on a different card and maybe you went back to the garden card. So it really did work almost like Monopoly. And people would use tiny pieces or thimbles or things like that as their game pieces that they would move along the board with. They were based on something earlier called Conversational Cards, which came out around the 1770s, which they were picture cards that was also a game. People would lay them out and to create a story. So here's where you have 2 different types of things happening. You have story cards, which people are actually weaving stories behind these pictures, which we do every day with tarot, Lenormand, oracle cards. And then you move into the Game of Hope, where it is being a board game, but you're also having these pictures. So as people are doing this, they are having conversations about them. They're using them in that way till one day, finally, they're used for divination because people began experimenting with it. And when they finally did, that's what completely took over and the game fell to the wayside. So what I want to do is go through each of the cards. There's only 36, so it happens quickly, and I'll give you a quick meaning of what they are, and then we can go back into what the history is and everything. One thing I do want to point out in the book was an interesting piece of artwork because Madame Lenormand did get arrested quite a bit for her divination. So she was arrested like 3 or 4 times. She was also pretty smart with marketing because she would write books on the subject, on esoteric subject that you could only get in her store. So you would come in and she was set up shop as a bookshop when really you were just there to kind of read her books in the lobby while you waited your turn. Are there any questions so far? Let's see. So the first card is the Rider. The Rider simply means something is moving into your life. Someone's bringing a message. They're going to write in and bring you something, or it's more about messages than events. It just foretells that something is coming. Then we have the Clover, and most of these are self-explanatory. They're very easy too. What does a clover mean? A clover, usually a 4-leaf clover, is luck. So what this means is it's not going to be a giant amount of luck. It's a little bit of luck. The ship is about movement. It can be about commerce, because commerce was mainly done by ship at that time. So the ship card is about things moving into your life. It could be smooth sailing. The house simply means house. It's your house, your sanctuary, where you live. Depending on the card that falls beside it, which we'll get more into later, let's put the ship beside the house, and you could be taking a trip to someone else's house. You could be getting ready to move, possibly overseas or at a long distance. The tree, think of the roots. It's about ancestry. It's about family, putting down roots, being grounded. The clouds, all clouds have a silver lining. So there's a good side and a bad side. So it depends on what the question is and what it falls beside. The snake is about deception. It can sometimes mean the other woman, or sort of being backbiting, someone biting behind your back. It's betrayal. The coffin, similar to tarot, with the death card, it is the end of something, or it's time to put an end to something. The bouquet is it's like a little gift, because think of, you give someone a bouquet on it's not like giving someone a big expensive gift. It's a little token, a little something of someone's esteem. Scythe or sickle, some people say, it's about cutting something out of your life. It can also be something as simple as surgery, or you might cut yourself. But most of the time, it's about cutting an event or a person or something out of your life. The whip and broom, it's like whipping things into shape, cleaning up your act, sweeping. Don't sweep things under the carpet. Or it's a get your shit together card. The birds is about communication. It's more happy communication. It's not necessarily about gossip. It can be, depending on what card it lands beside, but most of the time it's two people talking, planning. It could be about meeting someone at a coffee shop. The child card is about looking at things like a child, or nostalgia, looking back at things the way they were. The fox, I call this stepping on a polished shit card. This is a different type of deception than the snake card. It is about someone who's very conniving, cunning, someone who's two-faced. So it's when this comes up, it tells you to be aware of the people around you. The bear, a lot of people think a bear would be a menacing card. It's actually, think of a mama bear. It's about nurturing, protection. Depending on the card that falls beside it, it could be about things needing to go dormant for a while. Think of hibernation. The stars is about having many, many different options. Lots of different things coming your way. You don't have to pick just one. The stork, and some people immediately think, oh, I'm pregnant. The stork actually means moving. It's moved to another house, another apartment, another state, another country. It's usually moving away. The stork can mean pregnancy, but it has to be really, things have to be lined up with the cards beside it. It needs to be like where you have, we're going to get to the ring card, which is about commitment, sometimes a marriage, and the other side of it, the child card. So unless those two appear right beside it, most of the time it's not pregnancy. The dog, man's best friend, it's a friend card. It talks about a friend. The tower, total opposite of the tarot cards. This is nothing bad. It just means a place of business, commerce. It can be a college, a university. It even looks like one, this tower. It's not too menacing. It can be a job, a place of work. The garden card, some people call it the fountain card. It's a good card. It's about meeting up with friends, going to parties, being festive, being with other people. The mountain is you have a little bit of a climb, something you have to overcome, or it's going to be a struggle. The crossroads, there's a decision to make. You can either go one way or the other. The mice, I mentioned earlier, something is taking something away from you. Earlier, I mentioned the house card. I'm going to put the house with the mice because it's a good example. Let me find it. This can literally mean an infestation in the house. You have mice, you have rats, you have some sort of rodents. It can also mean there's someone living in your house that is taking away from your happiness. They're making it where this is not a sanctuary anymore. So it is time to get that person out of the house. Next is the heart, which is love, romance, relationships. The ring, commitment. Most of the time, people think of engagement. Once again, it has to be right beside other cards, like the heart and either the man or woman card to signify engagement. Most of the time, this can be business contracts, something you commit to. The book, which is about learning more things, discovering things. There could be knowledge that's hidden from you that you need to learn. It could be something you already know, but you're choose not to know. So it's about opening your eyes to knowledge. The letter is literally a form of communication. It is receiving a letter, a postcard, an email, a text. The man is just a signifier card. It represents a man or masculine energy. The woman, the same thing, a signifier. The woman asking the question or someone with feminine energy. Lily, some people and some readers consider this to be a card of sexuality. That was an older way to read the cards. It's mainly I read it as a card of planning it for the future, as a card of retirement. You see lilies on caskets often. So it's like things that happen later in life, planning for things later in life. The sun, a happy card, a bright future. Things are going to go well. Or you need to shine some light on a topic. The moon, which is things that are hidden from you, things you may not know. We're at 33 out of 36. The key card is literally the key to something. It tells you, look at the cards on the other side of it. This is the key to your problem. This is what caused it. This is how to unlock it. The fish is abundance. It's a money card. Back then, the fishing trade was a big thing. It dealt with, it was a signifier of money. In other cultures, you'll find fish in charms and amulets that mean money. So it's abundance. The anchor card being, it's more than being grounded. It's being wanting to be grounded in one place. It's settling down, finally putting your anchor down and staying somewhere. And the cross is the last one, which is about sacrifice. Or some people think it would be a religious card, but it's about you willing to give up something in order to get something else, or give up something for the sake of someone else. So that's all the quick version of all 36 cards. If anyone wants to turn on their microphone, let's see if we have any questions before I move on to something else. Or can you turn on your microphone?
I just need to hit unmute.
Someone asked what the fox card was. The fox card is someone cunning and deceptive.
Somebody asked, why are there playing cards also?
Yes, they are. They do
cards?
have playing card associations. How many people have ever seen in the stores the Gypsy Witch cards? You know, those are the orange deck. They're only about $7 a deck. When the cards reached, this deck is based on what's called the Dondorf deck, which is a German deck. The cards in the book, you see, they're a little bit thin and longer. This is from a 1929 deck I have, which is based on the Dondorf Germany deck. These were 1929 Carreras cards, which were in Black Cat cigarettes. You got one in each one. But when they reached from Germany to France, playing cards were all the big rage there. Of course, there's 52 cards in a playing card deck. They merged the two of them with an early version and put the playing cards on top of them. And then later on, they whittled Lenormand back down to 36 cards and left some out. So it was a way to use them for both things. You could play with them, or I have a list too in the book, and let me see if I can find it, because playing cards can also be read, and they have all of their own associations. Let me get past them, and I'll tell you, past all these card meanings, I'll tell you which ones they are. I don't usually use the playing card associations. It's just not my thing. But if you want to, it can add another layer to reading the cards. I'm almost there. Okay, like wrong page. Sort of like the hearts were emotional matters. They're sort of like you can break up the swords. Now, there are tarot associations. Let me go back to that. That might make it a little bit easier to explain for all the tarot readers. Okay, how the suits correspond to tarot and the elements. Clubs are pinnacles, symbols of earth. Hearts are cups, which are symbols of water. The spades are swords, which is air, and diamonds are wands, which are fire. So you can also, for tarot readers, you can take that and give it a deeper meaning to the cards for you. Let's see. There was one more thing. Oh, they also have a lot of tea leaf associations. Let me grab. Because last year with Miss Cat from Lucky Mojo, we wrote together The Stranger in the Cup, How to Read Your Luck and Fate in the Tea Leaves. And after writing this with her, while we were writing it, I told her, I said, a lot of these are Lenormand card associations. It's the same symbols. So when I got to working on this book, I found that a lot of them were the same. Not only were the same, their wording wasn't changed. In tea leaf symbols, there's actually one called the Rider, which that's an unusual one to include. So a lot of them did come from tea leaf reading, but more so from coffee reading. There's an early deck of cards called coffee cards, which are in the British Museum. And I think one of the publishers, maybe US Games, has recently put out a new version of that deck. Angela asks, what's the difference in movement between the ship and the Stork? Movement with the ship can be, it's like things getting moving. Maybe there's something moving into your life. It can be about travel, but it's about things finally getting going. While the Stork specifically means moving from one location to another.
Papa G?
Yeah.
Do you read reversals with Lenormand?
Oh, that's a good thing. I should have mentioned that. No, there is no reversal. If it comes up reversed, just turn it around. It has no different meaning to it. Let's see. Some of the things I covered, like house and mice. There's different spreads you can use with them. The 3-card spread is simple. It would be like, well, Lenormand cards you read out almost like a sentence. So if you were to lay out 3 cards, it would be the topic, whatever you're asking about, the cause, and the effect. So where some people might read past, present, future, it's more like, we're not going to look at the past. Here's what you're talking about. Here's what caused it. And here's what's going to happen because of it. You can read it if you wanted to, past, present, future. If you were to lay them out in 5 cards, you would have a center focus card and then 2 on each side, which are 2 in the past, 2 in the future. The cross is almost like a condensed Celtic cross reading. Except most of the time when you do a cross, which is, a card in the center, 1 on the bottom, 1 on the top, 1 on each side, most people will choose the man or the woman card, and according to who asked the question, and put it in the very center. The card to the left, if you're looking at the cards, is the past. The card on the right side is the future. Above you, the card above is what's mainly on your mind, what is causing this on a emotional level. And the card below it is the root of the problem. What is causing this in a real life level? Because sometimes what causes a problem isn't necessarily what's really causing it. It is, the crown would be our reaction to it. Sometimes we'll make a problem worse or better depending on our reaction. There's mini spreads. There's a 9-card spread, which lays out in 3 rows. Let me show you. We're going to go over this in a minute. I'll show you a bit of the Grand Tableau. So if you were to just take, upside down, 9 cards, just take 9 of these. You can read it this way. Just keep going with the story. What do these 2 mean beside each other? And then what do these 2 mean beside each other? You connect it again. So it's not just Ryder and Clover. Connect those 2 together. Ryder plus Clover. Something good, something lucky is coming in. Something lucky is coming in from afar when you connect Clover and Ship. Ship and Bouquet. More good coming in. This is actually based from my deck, which my deck has more cards in it than a standard Lenormand. This is what it's called. I'll just go over this. This is called the Grand Tableau. Each card has what's called a house. The first card is the house of the rider. So just imagine you have 2 different decks, and you're going to take all of them and lay them out flat in a row, which is why they're numbered. I'm going to lean that forward a little. That's why all the cards are numbered, because it's their house. The house of the rider, the house of Clover, the house of the ship. Okay, so imagine you've got all these laid out, face up looking at you. Now you have another deck that you're going to shuffle, and you're going to begin to lay them on top of these. So maybe, let me grab another card. Your first card was the lily, and the lily ends up in the house of the rider. So you combine those 2, lily plus rider. What's coming into your life? It's the need to start planning ahead. That's the planning ahead retirement card, looking to the future. The first thing it tells you is something's going to come into your life that kicks your ass into starting to plan for the future. The next one could be the man. Here, I've just pulled the man. It's only on the second card. Now, let's say you are a man and this was your reading. Many people will say, wherever that man lands, anything behind him is the past. Anything in front of him is the future. So it's like if we were to land here, there's not much to say about the past. We're just going to talk about the future. Past doesn't matter. It's over with. It's not going to change what's going to happen. Now, if a woman were asking this question and there's a man in her life, that's just him. She may appear down here somewhere. So each one, you continuously go over and over and over. And there are cloths you can buy like this that show you all the houses. So you keep combining it. And this spread here can take over 2 hours sometimes to read, because you're really delving in and looking at each individual thing. And most of the time I've taught this in a live class. It's kind of hard to do it this way, where we've laid all of them out. It's actually turned out to be someone in the room. It was their reading. It actually matched them. You'll see down here, there's a shorter layer of cards. Now, this is based on my Good Mojo Lenormand deck, in which I added 6 more cards. So our configuration will be different. So you divvy the cards up evenly, so you have even rows. If you choose to have what is called, this is a fate line. If you choose to divvy them up in a way that gives you a fate line, so you have like 4 left over, however many you choose to go across, this is something you cannot change. It's outside of the reading. It's more information, but it is your fate. This part can't be changed. So this is what is called the Grand Tableau. Now, I know that one raised questions.
Would you say there are particular questions that the Lenormand is more directly appropriate for than the tarot, for instance? Or
I call them down and dirty cards. They get to the heart of it quickly, which is like basic everyday life things: money, love, finances, which is why you often find so many hoodoo practitioners use Lenormand cards, because they deal with these same down to earth, I don't want to say simple spell work, but spell work that deals with everyday life events. It's not like high magic or anything. It deals with our love and our money and our what's going on with our family. So they're pretty good at that because they're surface cards. It's just like, I'm just going to shuffle them now and pull 3. I'm going to assume this is for one of you. I hadn't even thought about doing a reading for the class, but it's a good way to demo how we're going to string 3 of them together. And sometimes I would use the tarot, and maybe I want more information, and I'll pull like 3 of these. Most of the time, it'll tell me the exact same thing the tarot cards did. Sometimes it helps me get to the heart of a matter where I can see, oh, the person who's sitting across from you asking this question is not giving you all the details. Or maybe they're just not honest with themselves about it. Or maybe there's something they don't know. So 3 cards. The stars, the tower, and the bear. So I don't know if this pertains to anyone here, but the stars are having lots of different options. You put it with the tower card. I think it deals more with the job. If anyone's out there is right now trying to change careers or to look for another job, it's like you have more than one option. You don't have to just stick to the field that you were trained in. Maybe there's something else you want to do and you want to actually explore another way to use your training. Because the tower card is right beside the bear card, it tells me that the job you should choose, if you have more than one option, but this says you do, you should choose the job that is more nurturing to you. So here we put the stars, the options card, beside the tower card. Lots of options in the job, but choose the job that's more nurturing to you. Does that make sense?
Does for me, yeah.
Did that apply to anyone?
Good.
Who?
It
Yeah.
could.
Oh, you, Ajani?
Yeah.
Are you choosing between a money grinding work or one that's more nurturing to you?
That's the choice. Yeah. I'm like, do I stay where I'm miserable but making money, or do I branch out and try to do something more nurturing and fulfilling?
Yeah. It says to choose the one that's will feed your soul and your pocketbook a little bit. A lot of readings, especially since COVID and people with jobs, a lot of people's readings have come up that it's time to downsize. Because people are doing more things that are side gigs, and they're more concerned with their mental well-being than they are having an extra bedroom. So
Right.
I've seen that in so many readings in the past year and the people didn't even realize it. I have to get this or I have to do that. Why? Why do you need a guest room? You know, sleep on the couch when somebody comes over. You know, take $300 off the rent and don't be miserable all day. Choose something that's less. Terry, is there an appropriate or respectful way of shuffling the deck? You know, I'm not good at fancy shuffling. So I've never, can't get me on a surface right here, but I'm always the one who's just shuffling like you're playing poker. I mean, sometimes I'll just do this, but you know, you see the people who sit there and I can't do that. They just fall all over the floor.
I have been told that to kind of click them, folding them, you know, like you would playing cards, is disrespectful. So I didn't know the validity of that.
I would say, who said it? I would say most time somebody made this shit up somewhere. just like the old you have to steal your first tarot deck. Us shop owners don't like that. Or you have to be gifted your first one. Well, what if they gave you a really shitty deck? It's like, I don't want to read with this crap. They may have given you some weird oracle deck that some psychopath made up and where you're supposed to use it. Or maybe that's where you gift it on to someone else.
Oh, no.
Would you say picking your Lenormand deck is a personal or an attraction like tarot deck?
It's personal.
Yeah.
Look at this. I have my own deck. Where is it? I mean, I have a deck I designed. This is the Good Mojo Lenormand, but I don't read with them. I read with the old German deck because to me, there's ego attached to this one. So if I'm reading with my own deck, to me, that's, you know, my ego's attached to it because I designed it. So I don't read with them. I read with the old ones.
Make the reading more neutral.
Yeah, I'm focused more on the information than the awe that I'm the one who designed the deck. So you know, keep that part out of it. There are many different decks. I'm sad to report that my least favorite deck is the Pagan Lenormand because of one card that I just don't like. It's the mice card. And the mice card I wish I had a picture of it here. The mice card has a picture of mice, a glass of Coke, a bag of potato chips, and a ham sandwich. So I call it the ham sandwich Lenormand. I'm like, this is pretty cheesy. I'm like,
Ham and
really?
cheese.
Coke, chips, and a ham sandwich. I'm like, this, I can't get too much of. I'm not feeling very mystical with divining with the ham sandwich Lenormand. So, yeah, you have to get one that resonates with you. Many of them are based on old decks and the reproductions, and some people like Sarah Marchetti have come up with Golden Reverie Lenormand. They're very pretty. Under the Roses. There's lots of different decks. I think in the store, which don't go by us, there's going to be many more than we carry, but I can tell you just by looking at the website. Tarot and Oracle cards, Lenormand. We carry 24 different types in the store. So there's got to be a lot more than that.
After I bought your book
Papa G.
off Amazon,
Uh-huh.
I went and bought my first deck of Lenormand, and this is the deck.
It's not the ham sandwich deck, is it?
No, no mice there. It's the Healing Light Lenormand.
Yeah, and there's just 30, but there's just 36 cards to it, right?
I believe so. Yes.
So they stuck traditional. So, yeah, you don't have to flip them over. They don't have a reverse meaning. Libby said, found the mouse card. Mary, my first tarot deck pulled me off the highway and into the store. You know what? I mentioned in the book, I started reading Lenormand because out of a frustration of not learning the tarot. Roy and I practiced. Roy and I have been together 18 years. When we got together, we're both practicing the tarot, learning the tarot, and I could not get it. It would not click. I couldn't remember the cards. I'm like, what? How many years do I have to study this before I get it? And it just wasn't working. And I found Lenormand cards, and I knew how to read them in 1 week. Of course, I learned more about them after that, but I knew confidently how to read them within that week. And surprisingly, after learning to read the Lenormands, then I picked the tarot back up and I just knew them. So probably I needed to step away from them. But they did lead me into, oh yeah, you can do this. Now double it, now go up to 78 cards.
Papa G.
Yeah.
Why do you think, what makes a deck resonate with somebody specifically? Do you have like a theory on why you're drawn to a certain oracle or Lenormand or tarot?
I do, because recently, I think it's not just, I don't think it's necessarily anything that mystical. I think there are things in our past that we don't remember that resonated with us. And I think it's the artistry, the way it's presented, because recently, I mean, a lot of the artistry in my books are like old. Let me pull my Lenormand cards out. If you've ever looked at in the contents of my books, a lot of my artwork is based on 17th, 16th century. I'm trying to find. Things like that. You find a lot of my books, a lot of the things that I do. It was recently, Roy and I were watching on, I think it was YouTube. We found, it's not Mysteries of the Bible, it was Ancient Mysteries. Back when Leonard Nimoy hosted them. And then, we watched it we watched a whole weekend of it. And then after that weekend, we were outside and I said, I just realized something, because they would show that kind of imagery, those kind of 16th, 17th century wood grain images. I said, this must have made an impression on me back when I would watch it when I was like 18, 19, 20, because I just realized I write in the way that he narrates. and they use the same. I use the same kind of images that they use in the series.
Really?
So I mean, like, and most people don't realize that, but in that moment, I realized his narration was my writing style, and all the imagers they use in that series was the kind I use in my books and in my artwork and in my cards.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
So I think
Greg.
that all of us experience like things that are tangible, like art and food and colors and the kind of classes we took and the people we've met. I think all that accumulates to eventually becomes the type of card you pick. I don't like modern cards. I read the Rider-Waite Lenormand. I can't resonate with the modern pictures. Does anyone else have a similar experience? Or
No, I read with modern decks. I have to step away. I have made you host if you are not done yet.
where are we at? 351? Okay.
351, because I have to go get ready for ritual.
Go get ready. We'll chat a few more minutes and then we'll
And
be
then you
ready for
can,
ritual.
and then we will, all right. So you are the hostess with the mostest now.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. So, Ejan, do you read with Lenormand at all?
No, I never have, but it's been recommended to me. So I thought, oh, well, I'll take Papa's class.
I mean, a reading goes, well, even with my tarot, it goes quickly. I've cut my readings down to 10 minutes and 20 minutes because I found I can answer 3 to 4 questions in a 20-minute reading. I can do the Celtic cross for you, and then I can do 3 more shortened version of the Celtic cross, which is taking the 4 away. And just get to the heart of a matter. I'm like, why am I? If people want, can I have an hour?
Spread doesn't necessarily mean it's more or it's better.
Yeah, you just need to get cut to the chase, and these cut to the chase quickly. You can also.
Have you ever used Lenormand for spell work?
Say it again.
Have you ever used Lenormand for spell work, like people who tarot spells? You've done Lenormand spells?
I've never really used cards for those. Sometimes I will put one up on the altar to signify something, like especially like a money spell or something. But I haven't used these for that. But a lot of people use playing cards for that. So that would be a way that people would incorporate that in the. I know I missed a lot of information because there's so much in the book that I didn't want to just read to you. There was a long history of it. There's so many associations with playing cards, and those are in many other books too. You may have some books like I'm trying to get to my bibliography here. Let's see. Marcus Katz, there's Learning Lenormand. Mary Kay Greer has a lot of information on her blog.
Are there any YouTube videos on Lenormand that you would recommend?
Yes, she is. God, now I'm going blank, of course. Her name. Just a second, I'll find it. Donna Lay, that's it. Donna Lay. I think it's Leigh. She has a lot of Lenormand videos out there. Let me make sure I'm spelling that right. Donna Lay, one word, Donnaleigh. Donna Lay Lenormand. I'm not even sure she sells them. I think she just likes talking about them. She was probably one of the first videos I watched many years ago. Or I think I found her later, but she's very informative, and she'll even go through the quick meaning of all of them and everything. And in some ways, I never thought to read them. She'll go deeper. But
something like with something like the scythe card, which typically like I've understood to mean like danger, sharp things. Um, do you think like if it comes up and say like reading about employment or something like that, it could mean harvest because it's that's what the scythe is used for, or should I
It's
keep it more confined?
I mean, it more deals with like harming yourself, cutting things, and getting rid of people or situations, or it's a negative card. It's a leaning towards negative card. It's more of an advice card that deals with negative matters. It can also be telling you to go to the doctor because surgery is needed. It can literally cutting your finger, meaning it might remind you when you just had a reading. I'm sitting here cutting these carrots. I better knuckle under. Not cut my finger off.
Don't use that mandolin.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be sort of, I would think of that very very fitting of the day, like Pagan Pride. We think of harvesty and the bundles and everything, but that card's really more. I don't think there is one. If you wanted to go for one that would be like harvest, it would be like the garden card. Everything growing, being in gatherings. So yeah, it would be probably more, a harvest card would be more like the garden card. Someone taught me that the snake card, where most of us time we're thinking betrayal and the other woman, it can be you biting yourself in the ass by not owning up to your own negative shit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to impose on the ritual that everyone should see, so I hope this has been helpful. Usually my planned out pre-recorded videos are a little bit more flowing. When I do a live one, I think I go a little bit fast, but I think you got the gist of how Lenormand cards are different than tarot cards.
Great class. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it.
Get you some Lenormand cards and play with them. They're, like I said, you might be reading in a week.
Awesome.
I'm going to end this, and then I guess, 3:57. It gives everyone time to grab a drink or something and then go to the ritual. Well,
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.